Now, the Lego Brit is a YouTuber that have been on YouTube for a little while now, and until they've joined, have gained tons and tons of support throughout his time on YouTube. And to help celebrate that, he made a Microfighter mock contest, which I decided to enter. I'm going to be showing you my submission here on Beskar Bricks. Now, MTTs were first introduced in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. They stand for Multi-Troop Transports. LEGO have made a couple variations of this vehicle throughout the years, mostly being the Episode 1 variation. I believe the most battle droids one set have ever held is 12, and throughout the set there's multiple little compartments throughout it. Now, during Star Wars The Clone Wars, a new variation of the MTT was introduced, which instead of brown markings, it had blue and gray markings. Now, LEGO have only made this once as a poly bag, so this have never been made into a full-scale set before. While the other MTT have been made about 3 times as a set. I think multiple poly bags and a couple times, and I think at least once in an advent calendar. So I decided to build the Separatist MTT from the Clone Wars as a Microfighter. So of course, because this is a Microfighter, a lot of it is shortened, maybe seem a little bit chubby in some places. I try to do my best, try to do a lot of the patterns the very best. Now, of course, I chose to do an NTT because this variation of an NTT have not been used by LEGO very much in the past, only really once in that poly bag. It was a mini build, by the way, kind of a small little thing. Still cool. I don't have it yet. I don't know, who knows, after this I might go and get it, but I've looked at other submissions for the Lego Brits challenge, the Lego Brits challenge, and a lot of people have been doing things like Razor Crest TIE fighters and a lot of aircraft vehicles. Now I want to do a land vehicle, and a vehicle that not only LEGO is not paying attention to very much, but a vehicle that I think not only is good to go with the recent new Clone Wars season, but also something that honestly, I think that this is going to be a very unique build. I'd be very surprised if someone actually chose the NTT to build a Microfighter out of, as building a Microfighter is definitely a challenge. I spent a couple of days working on it. A lot of different designs and concepts went into it. But I had another goal that I wanted to pursue. I wanted this to seem as much like an actual Lego set as possible, making it look nice on one thing, but as I was challenged with designing a Microfighter, I wanted to add a bit maybe fun play features into the set to make it seem as realistic as possible. But first we're gonna take a look at the overall exterior of the build. Then we're gonna look at the play features, and then take a real closer look at the minifigs. Alright, so here's the MTT. Now, of course, some of the sizes of this is a little bit funky, as Microfighters usually are, like you see in the Republic Gunship Microfighter. And actually, now, you may think that this is a little big for a Microfighter. You also have to remember how big the MTT actually is, and that this is also a Microfighter. And this is practically minifig scale. So I think that this works. I've really tried to get some of the chubbiness and awkward shapes that Microfighters often have, but while capturing some of the main concepts of the build. Now, starting up in the front, I used this big piece right here for the hatch. A little bit of the grill piece down there, as there's a little bit, I believe, some black down there. Now, there's this gap up there. We'll get into what that is, though. I've really spent a lot of time trying to get the detail up front here as much as possible, getting good shaping. The cannons down here consist of a stud shooter and a bullhorn with a lightsaber hilt at the end, connected with a stud with the hole in the middle into there. I just added my slope pin there, and a little bit of a grill piece also, just to add a little bit more detail. Oh, by the way, everything is just about identical on both sides. Now, I used this piece, which is a, at least some sort of, I think it might be turntable. No, I think turntables are bigger, but normally I have a rotating piece on top, allows it to spin. A separatist emblem would normally be on here. Well, I do have 2x2s with stickers on them with that. They are in dark blue, so I thought that would maybe not work out too much. So I decided to use those instead. Without it, it honestly looked a little bit plain. So I decided to add it on there, just add a bit of extra detail. While those studs showing may look a little bit odd before, it definitely just looked kind of out of place without it there. Now these engines, now at the actual model, it kind of like curves in. But, you know, not only I practically wore, this is almost just about all of the blue pieces in my collection. I really had to do a lot of searching for some of these parts. So I don't actually have a inverted angle there for that, but I just added a little bit of extra engine to give that idea. Now normally this part here would not be like this, but it being a Microfighter, I had to take some liberties, and I did capture it, and that stripe would normally be going down all the way, but that would not work structurally, as in that it would just be able to fall off really easily, but I did still add the stripe there to add that extra little bit of detail. Now up here, not only can that be used as a potential handle, it also adds a little bit more unique shaping throughout this, and when it gets smaller as it goes, try to get more of the gray there to make it look a little bit more accurate. Say I did that slope piece up there, and I spent a lot of time trying to get that top as right as possible. I thought I did a pretty good job at that. Another extra plate there just to add a little bit more. Give it a little more shaping, and also there's a little bit of tiles just to kind of change it up a little. I wanted to have a good amount of tiles, flat surfaces, also a little bit amount of studs, just to give it that Lego feel. There's some black pieces with grills on it. Well, that is in. There's something like that in the build. While I don't have room to do it completely, I wanted to at least give it a hint. I just added studs there for a little bit of extra detail. Once again, that shaping's there, definitely not too accurate, but Microfighters aren't known for being accurate. I really wanted to make this as much as a Microfighter as possible. Now looking at the back here, well, now I'm gonna be honest, I scoured the internet for an image of the back of this. I could not find it. I cannot even find a good image for the Trade Federation MTT. So I just kind of worked off of actually Lego models. I know that the bars were on the back, and decided on another one of those. Not necessarily trying to represent a separatist emblem, just a little bit of detailing. Grills there, just add not only a little bit more greebling, that's also the best pieces I had for that. I think it came out well. The stripe continues through there, and of course this side is practically identical. And I don't know if I meant, but there are some stud shooters, so you can fire at your enemies there. And one thing I have come to notice is that these can kind of come off a little bit, but if you look at, let's say, the Resistance Y-Wing Microfighter, where its wings are very flimsy because it's using flick fire missile pieces to add on, that's not that bad. Overall, this is pretty sturdy, just besides like those two pieces. Now, there are some things that do come out, because next we're going to take a look at the play features of this set. No matter how much I love to collect, I do have to embrace the fact that Lego is a toy, no matter how cool it looks on my shelf. And because I'm making a mock of a sub-theme of a toy product, I decided to add a bunch of play features. I really packed this thing full. Now, of course, I showed you the stud shooters, which I think I integrated into the cannons, which I think makes sense. I didn't decide to put two, just so I can add the top one, have just a little bit more detail. Now, this is a fully functional MTT, means you can actually open this up. Inside, there's a little handle, and you can deploy some battle droids. Inside, there is a rack with 2 battle droids here. I'll get into the specifics on why I chose these two. You can just fold them up here. Just like in the actual MTTs, this can hold 2 battle droids, as I said. you can do some really basic modifications to make it probably hold even a third one. So for this size, I really wanted to have almost to feel like a multi-troop transporter if it only held one battle droid and just be an MT, a troop transporter, not a multi-troop transporter. So it can transport multiple troops. Not really too much in there, but of course, I wanted this to make sense, like in universe. If this was in universe, I wanted this to make sense. So I decided to make this almost a scout vehicle kind of thing. So up here, you can take that off, and there is a pair of binoculars in there. So the battle droids can do some scouting work if they need to. So they can take a look out there. Also on the back, this entire section can come off, revealing a inside, which of course that can also be used to extend this. Now with that out, this can slide in further, so now you have more room. In here, you have the battle droids 2 blaster pistols there. That is so of course you're gonna need their weapons. So now they have their 2 blasters. Oops. And there we go. So now our battle droids are equipped and armed for battle. And included in this is a little console too. So now you can set this up, and now the battle droids can do some, maybe they found something interesting of something that belongs to Republic and they like to report it back to base. They can go ahead and do that there, and you can also store other things inside the crate, and when you're done with it, it just fits right back in there. I'm gonna need to take this out because there's one more storage compartment I put in here. I really try to use as much space as possible. If you lift that up, there's room for extra stud shooters. Now originally that is where I wanted to store the blasters, but I could not find a proper way to fit it. So, and because originally the studs and the binoculars were going to fit in here, so I did that. And you can also just leave the crate out and just put that back in. So there's lots of really fun little things that I put in here. I really wanted it to give it a Lego feel. A lot of cool things that you can do with this. A couple of extra accessories for the battle droids. And the battle droids are really easy to put back in because you just open it up, ball them back up and just slide them in there. So it's really easy to transport your troops with this model. Because I wanted to really get the fact out that this is an MTT. A Microfighter version, yes, but it still does not lose its dignity. I put so many little things in it, as in the actual Lego sets. There's like so many flaps you can open up. So I wanted to have some storage space or little things. And also, store other stuff in these compartments too. If you turn it upside down, it doesn't tend to come out. That does, but the crate also isn't on there. But especially that stays in really well. But if you are open to this, you do see a little bit of how that was done, but not really to a degree, which I think is alarming. Also, one more detail worth noting, those just red studs, just to maybe add a little bit and make more sense to this. Might want to show you this in a little bit more detail there. That console piece, and on the back there's some greebling, just to, give it a little bit more detail, because when it's just kind of standing out like this, that it may just look a slightly bit odd. So I just added that just so it just doesn't look a little bit plain, so it just looks a little less plain in that sense. So let's go ahead and put that in. Now I'm not really gonna go get my minifig, my rotating minifig stands, because I don't feel that is necessary for 2 battle droids. They're pretty simple. I chose this pilot battle droid. 1, I think it'd make more sense for him to operate the console. 2, it makes kind of sense to have a pilot battle droid for someone. Maybe you can think that he might be the one driving the MTT when he's curled up in his ball. Also, just add a little bit of a extra variety, because the way I think of it, if this was an actual set, it'd also be a mini troop builder too. And also, I decided to give them both the small blaster pistols, because I thought that was really necessary. For storage wise, so just put as much stuff as possible. Of course, the standard battle droid So you have your standard soldier to go shoot up the Republic troops. I think it also just real quick, just worth getting just like a normal minifigure and standing it next to us. Here's a clone trooper. So, kind of cool. Dang it. Well, alright. So I'm going to get that stud and just do a real quick overview of this. Alright, so now for the final look at the MTT here. Now, one thing I actually really just quickly forgot to go over is the battle droid rack. I did put this little handle on the front, so when you stick your finger in there, it's really easy to pull it out, and just some grow tiles for basic gribbling. So, now, the Lego Brit, I hope you like this Microfighter. Actually, this is, oh, one thing I forgot to mention is the bottom, too. I use these inverted pieces that there so it can slide around really easily. So, and it even makes it look like it's hovering off the ground a little bit. MTTs do hover off the ground, so a little bit more unintended extra detail there. But now, I hope that you enjoyed this video, not only anyone watching, but the Lego Brit too. He is a YouTuber that's growing very, very fast. I've been supporting him for a little bit, so I'd like to encourage you to maybe go check him out, look at some of the other cool Microfighter submissions over there. And I also like to just thank the Lego Brit, because this is a model this Microfighter I've been wanting to do for a while, actually. At first, I tried to do the brown variation from episode 1. Didn't really ended up working out. I didn't have enough pieces. I played around it doing something like this a little bit. Once the contest came up, I knew I had to enter. And this would be the perfect thing. I'm very shocked I got it done. I'm limited in terms of my blue pieces, as you might notice, because I might have gotten creative a little bit with some things. I kind of had to. And I don't know, like, my personal thoughts, I'm personally proud of it. Of course, I don't want to persuade the judge that might be looking at this. That's not what I'm here for personally. I'm shocked that I got this done. This has been something I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. This took me a couple of days to design and build. A lot of redoing, especially this front here. Getting all of that right, or at least to my satisfaction, good. A lot of reference images here. Trying to size things down well for Microfighters. Just went through quite a bit of designs. And overall, I'm happy with the output. I hope anyone that's been watching this video has enjoyed it. If you enjoy my content, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I'll see you in my next video.